Imagine a nation ripping itself in two, populated with young lads who've never even shot a firearm, now clutching muskets amid 500,000 bodies decaying across fields from Pennsylvania down to Tennessee. Throw in illnesses that claim more lives than enemy fire, and that distinctive stench of a Civil War field hospital under the scorching summer sun, a blend of gangrene, harsh liquor, and raw despair. That's the United States in 1863, 2 years deep into a conflict everyone figured would wrap up by Christmas, though no one specified whose. A land where you might till your family's soil at dawn and shelter a runaway soldier in your basement by dusk, all while hoping the search party stays away. Your hands tremble as you hold the cloth to his shoulder, not from the sight of blood. You're no stranger to it, having butchered plenty of pigs and fowl on this spread to understand what's beneath the skin. No, it's the circumstances that unsettle you. This blood comes from a fellow in Union blue. He arrived at your doorstep 3 hours back, ghostly white, with a mini ball embedded somewhere between his collarbone and backbone. He's a deserter, and if word gets out that you're concealing him, they might raise your farm, if fortune smiles on you. You're Sarah Brennan, just 18, and you've managed this place solo for 7 months. It started when your father and both brothers headed off to enlist in the 6th Maryland Infantry back in April 1862. They traveled north to Baltimore, signed up as a unit, swearing they'd return before the crops came in. That was 17 months past. You've received only 2 letters since. One from your dad in September, stamped from some spot in Virginia. Another from your elder brother Thomas in December, penned after Fredericksburg, his script unsteady, with half the phrases blacked out by censors. Your little brother Michael, nothing at all. You're in the dark about whether any survive. And here he is now, a Union trooper hemorrhaging in your root cellar, begging you to shield him from the very fight he fled. Quote 0, he murmurs once more, his words faint. Quote 1, he's right on that count. Deserting means certain death. A volley at sunrise. No hearing, no mercy. The military's clamped down fiercely since Chancellorsville, putting over 200 soldiers to death this year for running or faltering. The papers report it all. The Baltimore Sun runs the details. Rows of names, units, execution dates, like death notices, but felled by their comrades' shots. The fad is drenched in moments. You lift it off, let it fall into the pail by your side. The liquid shifts to pink, then crimson. What's your name? You inquire. Daniel Weaver, 5th New York Infantry. New York, far from these parts. How old are you, Daniel? 19. Freshly. He attempts a grin but can't manage it. Quote 619. A year your senior. He appears no more than 15 at the moment. Ashen, terrified, leaking life. You grab fresh cloth, ripped from a worn bedsheet, and apply it to the injury. He winces sharply but holds still. Quote 7 you press. For an instant silence hangs. You wonder if he'll speak. Then, Gettysburg. The single word suffices. That battle raged 3 weeks back, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd. 3 days that transformed a quiet Pennsylvania village into a charnel house. Reports claim 50,000 casualties, Union and Confederate alike. 50,000! You struggle to envision such a crowd, let alone that many broken and lifeless. I witnessed horrors, Daniel whispers. Horrors I can't. He trails off, throat working. We stormed a slope, Seminary Ridge, that's what they named it, past an apple grove. The Confederates had cannons atop the rise, canister rounds. They're like massive buckshot blasts, but packed with hundreds of iron pellets. And when they burst, he halts once more. You've encountered descriptions of canister fire. You grasp its toll on flesh. Quote 12, he goes on. Quote 13, his tone fractures. Quote 14, his gaze meets yours, burdened with sights beyond endurance. Quote 15, scrounging for scraps to eat, bedding down in stables, desperate to put enough distance behind me so no one can pin down my identity. What drew me to this spot, you wonder? What about Maryland? It's a border territory. Figured folks might not probe too deeply. Hoped I could land a job someplace. Wipe the slate clean. He chuckles harshly. A sour, mocking noise. What a fool. Patrols are swarming the area. Both armies hunting down runaways, wanderers, infiltrators. I slipped up, stumbled right into a federal outpost just beyond Sharpsburg the day before last. The corporal spotted my jacket, demanded my documents. I had none, so I bolted once more. They fired on you. Fired at me, that is. Nicked me only once. Fortunate, I suppose. Though you're questioning if fortune even applies here, the injury has quit oozing at last. Not from mending, more like he's running low on blood to spill. He requires medical attention, but hauling him to a physician isn't an option. Every healer around these parts must notify the military about bullet injuries. That's the regulation, and the soldiers would start inquiring. Inquiries that could land Daniel before an execution line and you facing a courtroom. I have to extract the slug, you declare. His gaze widens in alarm. You? No other choice. Ever tried before? Never. Though I've witnessed the procedure. That's stretching it a bit. Truth is, you've only pored over descriptions in that old healing manual your mother stored away during her healthier days, before tuberculosis claimed her 2 winters back, abandoning you with your pa and siblings on a spread that scarcely yielded enough to sustain a family of 4, much less a lone soul now. Still, poring over pages isn't the same as wielding the blade yourself. This'll sting bad, you warn him. All of it does. Can't argue that. The underground storage room is cramped, roughly 8 feet wide by 10 long. The overhead beams hang low. You crouch whenever you rise. Rough stone surrounds you with an earthen ground and racks full of sealed jars of jams, plus bags of spuds and roots, the remnants of your winter provisions. You've doled them out sparingly. If the crops wither come fall, famine awaits. But autumn can wait its turn. For the moment, survival hinges on saving this young man. He's stretched out on a heap of worn quilts in the far corner. One lone taper flickers, casting faint illumination, barely enough to make out the ashen hue of his complexion and the deepening crimson patch soaking through his attire. You've assembled your implements on a rough-hewn box nearby. A blade, the keenest in your possession. You passed it through flames above to cleanse it, just as the manual instructed. The edge still holds some heat, some forceps typically for yanking out wood slivers. This evening, they're tasked with retrieving lead, a flask of spirits, your dad's stash. He abandoned it upon signing up. For toasting my return, he joked. You haven't sipped from it till this instant. Down this, you instruct Daniel, pressing the neck to his mouth. He gulps, sputters, gulps again. The whole thing. As much as possible, he drains perhaps a quarter before shoving it aside, his stares already clouding over. Fine, you swig deeply too. The liquor scorches your throat. Booze was never your vice, no real appeal, but tonight it steals your nerve. Set? You inquire. He dips his head, appears anything but prepared. You shift the flame nearer. Examine the gash. The entrance is tiny, a mere shadowed hole in the flesh of his upper arm, an inch shy of the collar ridge. No outlet on the reverse side, so the projectile lingers inside, likely jammed versus the skeleton, or worse, embedded within it. You probe softly near the tear. Daniel inhales sharply. I sense it, you murmur. Not too far in. Perhaps 2 inches. Positive sign, yeah? Not certain. Truth feels vital at this juncture. You grasp the knife. Align the point along the rim of the lesion. Clench this, you direct, offering a leather thong, a farm staple usually for honing edges. He clamps it in his jaws, and then you slice. The noise he emits is primal, stifled by the strap, yet piercing enough to halt you in dread of eavesdroppers, though none lurk close. The closest homestead sits a half-mile off, and elderly Mrs. Ricks hears nothing beyond a shout. You press on with the cut. The guidebook urged a precise linear slice, tracing the projectile's route to spare nearby flesh. Simple on paper, tough in practice as the patient's body twists, blood flows, and cries echo like a beast in agony. Yet you persist. Crimson surges, clouding your sight. You dab it clear with fabric, delve further, and there it is. A matte silver blob pressed to the bone, the small round that's been sapping his life over the last day full. You lay aside the knife, take the pincers. Your fingers hold firmer now. The first wave of fear has ebbed. This is mere labor, bleak, gory labor, but labor all the same. You ease the pincers into the slit. Daniel howls into the strap. Nearly got it. The tip seize the slug. You tug. It resists. Wedged tight, perhaps caught on bone or snarled in unseen sinew. You reposition your hold. Yank with more force. Daniel's body stiffens completely, and then the bullet finally gives way. It's deformed and squashed from the force of hitting him, smeared with gore and shreds of tissue. You lift it toward the flickering candle flame. Just this tiny fragment of lead, the very thing that has felled countless soldiers, likely tens of thousands over the span of 2 brutal years in this conflict. But this evening, you've triumphed over it. It's removed. You let him know. His eyelids are shut tight. For one horrifying instant, you fear the worst, that he's slipped away. But then his torso heaves up, drops, heaves once more. He's breathing, out cold, yet still hanging on. You rinse the gash with what's left of the whiskey. He doesn't stir at all, lost in oblivion. Next, you sew it shut using the needle and some thread. Your handiwork is rough, the stitches spaced too widely. The resulting mark will be rough-looking, but odds are he'll pull through, as long as no infection creeps in, as long as a fever doesn't claim him, as long as patrols don't track him down. So many uncertainties. You lean back, scrubbing the crimson stains from your palms onto your apron, inspecting what you've done. Daniel Weaver. Runaway soldier, your charge now, a real headache. What in the world have you dragged yourself into? Heading up to the primary dwelling, you scrub the blood from your fingers in the basin near the kitchen's window. The liquid shifts from scarlet to rose, then to transparent. Beyond the glass, daybreak is unfolding. The heavens blend slate and azure, laced with hints of amber. Yet another scorching afternoon looms. It's the tail end of July, and the swelter has been unforgiving. The maize in the southern plot is withering away, stems turned parched and fragile. You've lugged buckets from the stream daily, yet it's fallen short. Scarcity defines everything these days. You pat your hands dry, replace the cloth on its peg. Silence envelops the home. It always does nowadays. Once the clamor of your father and siblings thundering about, debating yields, the state of the nation, or if the Orioles might ever pay off, drowned out your thoughts. Now the sole noise is the steady tick of the mantle clock, your ancestors' timepiece, hauled from Ireland back in 1809, ticking flawlessly even after 54 years. The structure is modest, 4 chambers total, a kitchen, sitting room, and a pair of sleeping quarters above. Your folks erected it upon their union in 1840. They expanded upward when Thomas arrived. The partitions are flimsy. Every groan and murmur carries. That's precisely why Daniel must hole up in the basement. Should visitors arrive, folks from nearby, troops, revenue agents, they mustn't discover his presence. You step over to the pane, gazing across the land. 60 acres in all, 40 devoted to tillage, 20 to grazing and trees. A shed that's tilting a bit eastward, liable to tumble in maybe 5 more years. A hen house sheltering 8 birds, and a cock that's dodged the pot far longer than expected. It isn't grand, but it belongs to you. Or it will, provided your father and brothers return. You shove that notion aside. They will return. They must. The lane skirting your holdings stands deserted. No wayfarers, no military, merely the grit-strewn path linking Sharpsburg eastward to Boonesboro westward. Sharpsburg, the word knots your gut. That's the site of Antietam. September 17th, 1862, the deadliest day ever on American soil. 23,000 losses in a mere 12 hours of combat. The field by the Dunker Church swapped control half a dozen times. Fighters spoke of sloshing through crimson streams, actual pools of it gathering in the grooves amid the corn lines. From the hillock at your property's rear, the fight's grounds remain visible. On bright mornings, the wounds persist. Flattened earth, communal burial sites, splintered barriers, and ruined timber. The clash ended 10 months back. The soil shows no sign of mending. The inhabitants fare no better. Sharpsburg counted perhaps 300 souls pre-battle. Post-clash, it became a vast ward. Homes, outbuildings, places of worship crammed with the injured and expiring. Healers toiled endlessly, severing members, extracting projectiles, fighting to preserve lives amid the stench of hemorrhage, rot, and ether. Your own abode got commandeered as well. Over 3 weeks, federal casualties occupied your front room, bedded on the planks, calling for kin, fading gradually as you fetched sips, and averted your gaze from their features. A few were scarcely your junior. That marked your true baptism into the strife. Not the dispatches or rallying orations, but the raw truth. Gore and wails and lads who wouldn't see their thresholds again. By the hospital's evacuation, chill winds approached. Your kin had already marched off, leaving you solitary with 60 acres and a crop you scarcely knew how to reap. You scraped by. Just. Locals pitched in. Elderly Mr. Patterson arrived with his boys to aid harvesting the grain. Mrs. Hendricks delivered jams and loaves. The Methodist group rallied hands to mend the shingles pre-frost. Folks showed compassion. They still do, when it crosses their minds. Yet goodwill won't settle accounts, and obligations mount. The lender in Hagerstown grips the farm's lien. Your father secured it in 1855 for fresh tools, a harvester, an improved furrow turner, items meant to boost earnings. They failed. The due date hits each September. That $50 feels like $5,000 no matter how you look at it. Last harvest season, you parted with every last thing of value. The extra plow, your ma's fine china set, even those 2 reliable milk cows. And it barely scraped together the payment, leaving a measly $3 in your pocket. This time around, there's nothing more to offload but the land under your feet. So, a solid crop is your only shot. Not just solid, a bumper one enough to settle up with the bank and keep you and yours fed come the cold months. But the corn's withering away. The wheat barely filled the silos. Even the kitchen patch is barely hanging on. And to top it all, you've got a runaway soldier stashed down in the root cellar. Sarah Brennan, what in God's name have you gotten into? Deep down, though, the reason's clear as day. You're just carrying on like your mother raised you to, lending a hand to folks in a bind. Quote 16, she'd always remind you. Soft-hearted she was, full of grace, mercy, and faith in fresh starts. She went to her grave holding tight to those ideals. You're not so certain they fit your world these days, but her words echo anyway. Daniel Weaver was desperate, plain and simple, so you stepped up, even if it costs you your neck. Still, the hens won't wait around. You snatch the feed pail from the cupboard and step out into the yard. The dawn breeze carries a hint of heat already. Sun's rising higher, chasing away the fog drifting along the stream. Songbirds fill the air from the trees along the boundary fence. A redbreast here, a scarlet one there, a handful of wrens, everyday noises. An ordinary start to the day, if you discount the wounded man leaking life downstairs. The flock swarms over at your calls and clucks, shoving for the front. You toss out the grain. They dive in like starved souls, gobbling it up. You've cut back on their portions, same as everything else. Grub, gear, even grit, it's all stretched thin. As they forage, you peek into the coop for any lays. 3 this morning. Decent haul. You tuck them safe in your skirt pocket. Those will fry up for a morning meal, and perhaps you'll barter the spare for essentials down at the mercantile. Maybe salt, a bit of meal, whatever's scarce next. Speaking of town, you've got no choice but to head there soon. Supplies are critical. Wrappings for wounds, remedies against fever, laudanum if the druggist hasn't run dry, which means deserting Daniel solo, betting he won't slip away in your absence, betting you won't crack under some neighbor's casual "how's it going?" and spill the whole mess. Hard to say which risk bites harder, the cock's eyeing you from his fence post throne. Vicious brute, that one. Once went after your brother Michael and gashed him for keeps, but he earns his keep, bossing the ladies and fending off foxes. You've gotten wise to steering clear. Watch the place. You murmur to him. He fluffs up, lets out a blast that'll rouse the ghosts, or the half-gone at least. You cast a look toward the homestead. All still, no stir. Daniel's out cold, blood trickling on, maybe mending or fading by inches. You won't tell till time reveals it. Back indoors you go. After swapping the stained apron for something decent and tidying up, the clock's ticking past 8. One final peek at Daniel before you roll out. Still out, breaths faint but even. The wrap's secure, no new seep. You set a tin cup of water nearby, a heel of loaf if his eyes flutter open. Quote 19, you whisper. Silence from him. Up top, you bolt to the basement hatch. Stash the key beneath that wobbly kitchen plank for safety's sake. Then you yoke old Molly, the sway-backed mare, joints creaky at 17, to the cart. She's your lone ride now, ever since Pa marched off with the prime stock upon signing up. She huffs in protest as the straps go on, irked by the early rouse. Quote 20 you soothe. Quote 21. The trek to Sharpsburg runs 5 miles. In better times, it'd be 30 minutes flat. With Molly's shuffle nowadays, figure nearer 60. You settle on the bench, flick the lines. She lumbers forward at her leisure, as if eternity's on her side. Perhaps it is. The lane's hushed this forenoon. You go by scattered homesteads, most worn like your own. Plots half-worked, rails sagging, siding flaking from the dwellings. War's toll spares no one. Lads vanished, hands few, costs soaring. Feds snatch up whatever they fancy. Steeds, crops, herds. They vow compensation, sure, but the script drags on forever to cash. And by then, the dollar's worth beans thanks to the rising tide of prices. You skirt the Schaefer spread next. Sturdy souls, those Germans, old Heinrich and Anna. Their boy, the eldest, fell at Antietam, laid to rest in the yard graveyard. Anna hails you from the stoop. You nod in return. She stays put, chatters a luxury no one's got left. Another mile slips by, and there's the gutted Miller place. Deserted since the clash, house charred to cinders, outbuilding tumble down. Kinfolk vanished, destination unknown. Just past that lies the corn patch, site of the bloodiest fray, the one they'll remember. You spot it easy from the lane. The field has been sown again, though the stalks come up short and twisted in earth that's likely laced with spent rounds, skeletal remains, and all the grim leftovers from the conflict. Folks whisper that locals still dig up corpses now and then, hasty burials exposed by storms, or soldiers simply abandoned amid the rows to decay untouched. You avert your gaze, unwilling to dwell on it. 3 miles along, your path crosses a Union detail for the first time. 4 cavalrymen approaching from town on horseback. Your gut twists tight. Easy now. You're only a local heading to market. No cause for alarm. Nothing out of the ordinary, save for the runaway hiding in your basement and the faint crimson traces lingering beneath your nails. The group leader signals a halt. You rein in Molly. "Good day, ma'am," he greets, sounding youthful. Around 25, you'd guess. His shoulder bars mark him as a lieutenant. Dust clings to his uniform, yet it's neatly kept. His mount's a sturdy beast, far superior to your aging mare. "Good day," you answer evenly. "Off to town?" "Yes, sir." "Short on provisions?" His eyes scan you methodically, not aggressively, but appraising, like noting particulars. Woman traveling solo, cart in tow, weary nag, no real cargo of worth. Local resident. The Brennan place, roughly 2 miles behind us. A spark of awareness lights his face. "Brennan? Your pa's in the 6th Maryland, isn't he?" You incline your head. In a tight-knit area like this, word travels fast. That's the curse of rural life. Solid fellow. Held the line at South Mountain. Any word on him? Not lately. The lieutenant's features ease a touch. Mail's sluggish these days. He'll turn up safe, no doubt. It's a polite fiction, one you both recognize, but the courtesy holds. Noticed any outsiders? He probes. Folks who seem off? Your pulse races. None that I've seen, sir. We're hunting a runaway. One of ours slipped a guard post by Sharpsburg just yesterday. Lad with dark locks, wounded in the arm. It matches to a T. No sign of him around here. You reply. But I'll watch for trouble. He dips his chin. Much obliged. Mind yourself out there, ma'am. Roads are crawling with rough elements nowadays. Runaways, wanderers, Confederates slipping over from Virginia. I shall appreciate the warning. He doffs his cap. The riders press onward. You hold steady until they've vanished from view. Then exhale at last. That's skirted too near the edge. Far too near. You flick the reins. Molly plods forward once more. 4 miles remain to Sharpsburg. 4 miles to endure without shattering. The settlement isn't much of a hub. Pre-war, it counted perhaps 300 souls. One primary road lined with modest merchants, a chapel, an inn, a stable. Your typical spot where acquaintance runs deep and excitement stays scarce. Then came Antietam, transforming Sharpsburg into fodder for dispatches and ledgers of slaughter. The community has pieced itself back together for the most part. Field tents are cleared out. The injured have healed, perished, or returned homeward. Pavements are swept clean. Daily rhythms have resumed a fragile routine. Yet the wounds linger. They're etched into the pitted facades of structures scarred by gunfire, the mended eaves pierced by cannon fire, the haunted expressions of those who endured. Mrs. Fricks, who endured makeshift surgeries in her sitting room for weeks on end. Reverend Clean, who interred more souls in 30 days than across his 2-decade career. The Kretzer clan, mourning a boy who perished in their outbuilding, felled by a chest wound, gasping crimson for 2 agonizing days till the end. These are your neighbors now, the ones who persevered. You secure Molly at the rail in front of Mueller's Mercantile. The shop's an enduring fixture, 2 levels of sturdy brick. It weathered the clash unscathed, a rarity among the structures here. Stepping within, a shaded chill greets you. Scents assault the air at once. Roasted beans, pipe leaf, tanned hides, mingled with countless others. It's a welcoming aroma, one tied to memory, almost soothing. Mr. Miller mans the till, a burly sort, of German stock, like so many of the area's settlers. Dome of a pate, formidable whiskers, paws akin to smoked hawks. Miss Brennan, he rumbles upon spotting you. His lilt remains hearty, decades after crossing the ocean. Good morning. Morning, Mr. Muller. Farm holding up? He acknowledges with a bob, not probing further. Years in the trade have taught him discretion. What'll it be today? You unfold your note. Gauze, fresh linens if available, salve against festering spirits, plus any salt or meal you might part with. He pores over it. Aiming to set up a clinic? Icy dread grips you, though his delivery's playful teasing. No hidden agenda. Mishap in the plot, you fib. Sliced deep. Oh, unfortunate, he murmurs with feeling. Common enough. Got the wrappings and fabric. Spirits are scarce, but a flask I can manage. Salt, too. Meal's another story. He grimaces. Troops have snapped up most supplies. Still, there's a bag stowed away. Call it $3. $3 for basic flour. Wartime prices have quadrupled the old rate of 50 cents. But necessity wins. Agreed. He vanishes into storage. You linger, surveying the shelves. The racks hold fewer items than before, with empty spaces marking where goods once sat. Scribbled prices mark tiny blackboards nearby. Costs have climbed for everything these days. Sugar, coffee, tea. All the imports that once streamed easily into Baltimore now face shortages. Strict limits. It's the war's grip on trade. A pile of newspapers sits on the counter, editions of the Baltimore Sun. You grab the uppermost copy. The front page bears July 25th, 1863. The bold title announces, quote 22. You glance through the piece. Flowery words fill it. A splendid triumph, the war's pivotal shift. A devastating hit to the Confederacy. And that figure they hammer home, 50,000 casualties. Dead, injured, vanished, or taken prisoner across both armies. Your father could be in Virginia still, or so the last word suggested. The 6th Maryland fought with the Army of the Potomac. They'd have joined the clash at Gettysburg, so he might count among those 50,000 lost. You set the paper aside. Mr. Miller comes back, carrying your items. That'll be $8 altogether, he announces. You tally the coins. It wipes out nearly all your funds. Just $3 stays behind. It'll need to stretch to the harvest, if one even comes. Mr. Muller wraps it all with care and passes it across. Quote 23, he adds. Quote 24, you reply, though you won't. No clue where a letter might reach him. The troops keep shifting, trailing Lee, driving the Confederates southward. He could be scattered anywhere or gone entirely. You shove the worry down once more. Out front, the sun climbs higher. The warmth builds into a stifling haze. The sort that warps the horizon, that soaks you with sweat without a step. You stow the goods in the wagon. Over the road, soldiers cluster by the tavern. Union cavalry judging from their footwear. They're swigging drinks, chuckling. One arm wrestles a buddy atop a keg. They seem so youthful, barely old enough, but everyone does these days. You're settling into the wagon seat when someone calls out, Miss Brennan! You pivot. It's Dr. Biggs, the local physician, an elder fellow, perhaps 60, with silver locks and weary gaze. He's barely rested since the fighting, maybe a handful of hours nightly over the past 10 months. Dr. Biggs, you greet him. How are you holding up? Hanging in, he replies. His glance drifts to your wagon's load, pausing at the bandages and spirits. Quote 29, he probes. The words sound offhand, but his stare cuts keen. Quote 30, you repeat. Quote 31, quote 32, he hesitates. Quote 33, it's a generous offer, yet from a healer now, it feels risky. They dig for details. They're bound to flag any bullet injuries. Quote 34, he inclines his head, not fully convinced, yet he lets it drop. Quote 35, quote 36, he heads off. You track his departure. That felt perilously near. Folks around here watch too keenly, guard too closely, sensing trouble in the air. Time to head home. You flick the reins. Molly lurches forward. The return journey drags compared to the outbound. The mare's worn out. The swelter presses down. And doctor. Big scrutiny lingers in your mind. How he eyed those wrappings. Does he harbor doubts? Or is it mere nerves on your part? Likely a mix. You're roughly 3 miles out when the plume catches your eye. It rises from your farm's way. Dense black clouds climb against the clear heavens. Your pulse falters. Flames. You whip the reins sharply. Quote 37. The aging horse musters a labored canter, her quickest pace in ages, though still too slow. The haze swells, turns murkier. Quote 38. You plead inwardly. Quote 39. You swing around the last curve and halt. Relief floods in. It's not yours. The Pattersons' land lies a half-mile east, their barn engulfed in blaze. Fire licks from the eaves. Clouds of ash choke the air. Mr. Patterson and his boys scramble to salvage gear, dragging tools from the blaze, their skins smeared with grime. You rein in the wagon and leap off. Mr. Patterson, what occurred? He meets your eyes. His expression is dour. Bushwhackers, he grunts. Rebel horsemen swept by an hour back, torched the barn, stole the mounts, killed the dog for growling. Nausea hits. Everyone safe. Breathing. Counts for plenty. Did they hit my farm? Unclear. Headed west. West, straight toward your spread. Toward Daniel. You don't linger for details. Back aboard. You urge Molly to her limit. Quote 47, the plea echoes in your head. Quote 48, at last, over the rise, your property gleams untouched. The dwelling, the outbuilding, the hen house, all whole, no haze, no blaze, no troops. A wave of relief surges over you so intensely that you nearly tumble from the wagon. Yet that relief quickly morphs into fear as your gaze lands on the front entrance. It's ajar. You always secure that door. You rein in Molly and ease yourself down, moving with caution, senses sharpened to every detail. The yard feels unnaturally still, eerily silent. Chickens lie scattered about, several lifeless with necks wrung and bodies slumped in the dirt. The rooster has vanished. You edge toward the house with measured steps, ears straining for any hint of noise or stir. Nothing. The door dangles crookedly from its hinges, one splintered as if forced open by a boot. Within, disorder reigns. The kitchen bears the marks of a frantic search. Drawers yanked free, their contents dumped everywhere. Your mother's cherished plates, those you could never part with, lie in shards across the floor. The parlor suffers even more. Couches flipped, cushions ripped apart. Your grandfather's clock yanked from the shelf and hurled to the wall. Its glass front cracked, inner workings bared, yet somehow still chiming on, marking time amid the ruin. You navigate the debris in a haze. The intruders seized all worthwhile items. The candlesticks, bits of silver, even your father's pistol stashed beneath the floorboards. Then Daniel springs to mind. Down in the cellar, you dash to the kitchen. The trap door remains bolted, key tucked under the wobbly plank. They overlooked it. You fumble the lock open and head down. Darkness cloaks the space. the candle stub long extinguished, but faint light from the doorway above reveals him right where you placed him, out cold, chest rising and falling, very much alive. The marauders missed his hiding spot. You collapse onto the lowest stair, burying your face in your palms. Tears threaten, along with a urge to howl or lash out instead of just trembling there. But time presses. Those raiders could return. More troops might pass through. You must tidy up, restore a facade of normalcy, whatever it takes. Survival demands facing one moment after another, drawing a steadying breath. You rise and begin the task. 3 hours pass in restoring a fragile order, righting the furniture, clearing the shattered glass, piecing together the kitchen as best you can. The clock proves irreparable. Its gears jammed, pointers stuck at 10:47, the precise instant it hit the wall. Still, you return it to the mantel, a stark reminder of the theft. Out back, you enter the 5 slain hens, over half your flock gone. Later, the rooster emerges from the hayloft, feathers disheveled but whole. His reappearance brings a flicker of relief. By afternoon's height, the home appears habitable once more. Not quite right, but serviceable. Weariness weighs on you, skin slick with grime and perspiration. Your fingers quiver from the rush of nerves, terror, and fury, yet Daniel requires care. Back to the cellar you go, carrying clean water and remedies from town. He's stirring now, eyes fluttering open at the sound of your descent. He appears ghastly, ashen, damp with fever, but aware. Quote 49, he rasps. Quote 50. Upstairs commotion reached me. I figured. He trails off, hacking. Quote 51. Quote 52. You settle nearby, inspecting the dressing. A bit of fluid shows, though milder than anticipated. No foul odor of rot so far. Promising. Quote 53, you inquire. Quote 54. Quote 55. A ghost of a grin crosses his face. Quote 56. You offer water. He gulps it down eagerly. Then some bread, which he nibbles tentatively, as if his gut rebels against eating. Quote 57, he wonders. Quote 58. Quote 59. Quote 60. Quote 61. Quote 62. You lean away, peering at him in the gloom. Quote 63. Quote 64. Quote 65. Quote 66. Quote 67. Quote 68. You lift your shoulders. Quote 69. Silence stretches. Quote 70. Quote 71. You rise too quickly. Quote 72. Quote 73. You ascend before he can add more. As evening falls, you perch on the porch stairs, eyeing the vivid sunset. Streaks of orange, crimson, violet. Stunning, as if the land isn't fracturing. The farm settles into hush. Hens tucked in, Molly sheltered, fields unmoving. It mimics the everyday, but reality bites. You're sheltering a runaway soldier, victim to rebel thieves. Kin vanished, crops withering. Dawn will restart the grind. Footsteps approach from behind. You glance over. It's Daniel. He's hauled himself up from the cellar steps, propping himself against the door jamb, one hand pressed to his shoulder, his features contorted in agony. What on earth are you up to? You snap at him. You need to be lying down. I couldn't bear it any longer down there, he replies. It was starting to feel like a tomb. He hobbles closer and eases himself onto the spot next to you, letting out a pained grunt. Silence hangs between you for a beat. Then, in a soft voice, he murmurs, "Thank you for all of it." Save your thanks, you warn. You could still not make it. If that's how it goes, at least it'll be as a free man. You study him closely now, taking in the details. This young man who fled the battlefield, who's endured a bullet wound, pursuit, and sheer terror, yet remains thankful somehow. Tell me the real reason you deserted, you press. No holding back this time. He falls quiet, his gaze fixed on the fading light, lost in thought. At last he speaks. It hit me during Gettysburg, while I lay in that orchard, bracing for the next barrage of shells, with my comrades dropping dead all around. What exactly? That no one even understands what this war's about anymore. Sure, we claim to. The commanders rant about unity, freedom, safeguarding the country. The papers run pieces on obligation and valor. He gives a slow shake of his head. But when you're right in the thick of it, seeing soldiers ripped open by grape shot, hearing them cry out for their moms, watching them perish over scraps of Pennsylvania soil, it all rings hollow. We've been slaughtering one another for so long that we've forgotten there's any other way. You let his words sink in, mulling them over. My pa held faith in the fight, you say after a pause. The Union, the purpose. He figured certain ideals were worth a man's life. He could be onto something. Who knows? The only thing clear to me now is I couldn't bring myself to give my life for it. Not in that manner. Not for emptiness. The sun dips to the edge of the earth, painting the heavens in shades of blood red. Do you see me as a yellow belly? He asks. That's beside the point. I see you as mortal, you reply. He glances your way, caught off guard. Everyone's just scraping by, you add. You, me, the whole lot. Some endure through battle, others by bolting, and some by sheltering fugitives in their basements. A faint smile flickers across his face. So which one are you? Evidently all of them, he says. And then he chuckles. A genuine surprised bark, as if he'd misplaced the ability. You can't help but grin in response. Briefly, the burden eases. The dread pulls back. It's merely two souls taking in the twilight from a Maryland homestead, even as chaos engulfs the rest. The respite fades quickly. Naturally, nothing endures these days, but that sliver is sufficient. Daniel's recovery drags on gradually. Days slip by. 3, 5, a full week. The injury starts to knit. The infection fades. A healthy flush creeps back into his cheeks. He's far from robust, unfit for strenuous labor, but mobile enough now. He pitches in on lighter chores, which helps immensely since the workload overwhelms you solo. The cornfields demand weeding. The plot requires irrigation. Fences cry out for fixes. Livestock need care. Daniel pitches in wherever possible, yanking weeds with his good arm, hauling buckets from the stream, scattering feed for the hens at dawn as you handle the milking. Sharing the farm with another feels odd, but in a welcome fashion. The quiet doesn't weigh so heavily. The tasks seem less daunting. A rhythm emerges. You tackle the crops side by side in the mornings. He's frail still, but determined. You notice him grit through the hurt. At noon, when the sun beats fiercest, you pause in the barn's shadow, sipping fresh well water, chatting. He shares tales of New York, his Bowery childhood, his seamstress mother, his dockhand father who passed when Daniel was 12. Cholera outbreak, he explains. 1852. It wiped out thousands, my dad among them. That's rough. You offer. He lifts his shoulders. I hardly recall him. Ma brought us up, me and my 3 elder sisters. Do they know your whereabouts? Heaven forbid. They believe I'm still in the ranks. Picture me as some brave soul. He gives a harsh snort. If only they learned the reality. Being alive, that's the core truth. And that's enough. You lack a ready retort. The afternoons bring endless toil, picking ripe veggies for storage against the cold months ahead, patching the dripping barn roof, clearing the well. Come dusk, you prepare basic suppers, beans, cornmeal bread, now and then a stewed fowl from a slacking lair. Daniel wants to lend a hand. Cooking's not his forte, but he manages to scrape spuds and tend the stew. It's cozy, nearly routine. You steer clear of dwelling on its fleeting nature. By the 8th day, you head back to Sharpsburg for provisions. Daniel remains at the farm, too dangerous for him to show his face. The place buzzes more now, market thrumming with locals hauling meager wares from across the region. You secure Molly and weave through the crowded square. It's shrunken since before, with scant cellars and slim pickings, yet folks persist. Mrs. Kretzer offers eggs and churned butter from her stand. Mr. Schmidt peddles spuds. The preacher's spouse displays jams and bee sweetness. You purchase within your means. 3 pounds worth, 3 pounds of potatoes, a pot of honey, a hunk of salted pork. As you tally your coins, a disturbance erupts. Yells echo from the far side of the market. You glance over. Union troops have encircled a figure, a fellow in ordinary garb. They're hauling him to a cart. "Release me," the man yells. "I didn't do a thing." "Quiet," a soldier snaps, slamming his rifle stock into the guy's gut. He folds in pain. Onlookers stare. No one steps forward. You know him, Jacob Penna, a reserved farmer from down south in the county. He never caused trouble. Quote 8-7, you murmur to Mrs. Kretzer. She edges nearer. Hisses softly. She lifts her shoulders. The troops shove Jacob into the cart. They rumble away. He's still hollering, insisting he's blameless. Folks scatter, resuming their trades as if it were routine. That's war for you. It numbs you to the awful, to the unfair, to seeing kinfolk hauled off. You wrap up your purchases in haste, pile them into your wagon. Home calls before dark. You recount the scene to Daniel. He's at the kitchen table. You've let him come upstairs these days. Hiding in the basement nonstop is too chancy. Plus, the house stands firmer if he can roam. They're turning frantic, he remarks. Each faction. As the conflict drags, the clamps tighten, roundups, drafts, pledges of fidelity, forcing oaths to Union or rebels based on who's holding sway. Balk, and they seize your land, or far graver fates. You take it in. Have they pressed you for one? Who? Me? I'm a ghost. Merely a New York lad apprenticed when fighting broke out. My views meant zilch. They craved warm bodies for the lines. His finger sketches idly on the wood. That's our worth to them. Mere flesh. Tallies in a book. Dead. This many. Hurt. That many. Run off. The rest. And here I am. Among the runaways. And do you rue it? You venture. He ponders deeply. At last, no. He concludes. Plenty I lament, signing up, lacking guts, abandoning my mates. His gaze meets yours. But fleeing, no regrets there. Without it, I'd be gone, and we'd never have crossed paths. Your pulse stirs oddly. A quick thump, a hitch. You avert your eyes, feign fascination with the cookpot. Beans are scorching. Daniel notes calmly. Blast. You snatch it from the fire. The base is charred, yet the rest can be saved. Turning, you catch his grin. What? You challenge. Oh, nothing. Spit it out. You rattle so simply. I'm not rattled. Your face is red. It isn't. You feel your skin. It's heated. Quote 109, you grumble. He chuckles, that same surprised burst as earlier. Against the odds, a smile tugs at your lips. 2 weeks since Daniel showed up, you lead him to the overlook. Sunday, a welcome breather. Tasks finished, stock tended, skies bright. Quote 110, you say. He's tougher now, stride steady without grimacing. The injury mends neatly. Soon, another week maybe, he'll be whole. Then what? You push the thought aside. The rise lies a mile off the homestead, a gentle incline to a cragged ledge above the vale. The ascent's mild. Daniel handles it fine. Cresting, you halt. Look there, you direct, gesturing. Beneath stretches the Antietam field like a chart. 10 months post-clash, the wounds linger. The corn patch of savage combat, patchy and sparse even now. The plain Dunker Church, stark white, enduring amid shell strikes. The rutted lane where hordes battled and fell in a strip no broader than a cart. Bloody Lane, they name it rightly. The span over Antietam Creek, Burnside's Bridge, site of the federal rush through rebel hail. Pockmarks from shots scar the rock still. Daniel lingers next to you, wordless, absorbing the view. Quote 112, you murmur low. Quote 113, quote 114, quote 115, quote 116, quote 117, you nod toward a dwelling afar. Quote 118, you indicate another structure. You gesture toward that structure. It's the Pry House. General McClellan set up his command post there. The residents were forced to leave. Upon their return, the place lay in ruins. Turning to him, you remark that the soldiers clash in their conflicts and then depart. Yet those rooted in this soil must endure the lingering consequences, the burial sites, the lingering spirits, the scarred terrain that refuses to mend. Daniel appears deeply affected. I hadn't considered it from that perspective, he admits. Few ever do. The reports in the papers focus on maneuvers, and heroic assaults. They overlook the grower whose harvest was ruined, the lady who labored for weeks scrubbing stains from her planks, or the youngsters who stumbled upon live cannon projectiles in their pastures and suffered amputations while attempting to tamper with them. You settle onto a boulder. He takes a seat beside you. Silence stretches between you for quite a while. At last, Daniel murmurs, I'm sorry for my role in it, for the conflict, for the relentless grind. Though I fled, I remained entangled in the mechanism that wrought this devastation. Now we're all entangled, willing or otherwise. The sun climbs high in the sky. The afternoon grows warm, yet a gentle wind stirs up here. It wafts scents of meadow and soil, mingled with an elusive undertone. Perhaps it's recollection, or perhaps sorrow. Quote 122, you ask. He inquires. Quote 123, quote 124. You grasp a pebble, roll it between your fingers, and continue. Quote 125, quote 126. Daniel replies softly. Quote 127, quote 128. You hurl the pebble, observing its trajectory as it sails through the sky and vanishes amid the foliage downslope. Quote 129, you reflect. Quote 130, Daniel offers no rebuttal. Perhaps he concurs, or perhaps he senses the futility of debate. You remain perched there for another hour, gazing over the expanse, noting how the shadows stretch. Just two souls atop the hill, remnants of an unending strife, grappling with existence in a fracturing realm. In time, you rise. Quote 131, quote 132, Daniel requests. You linger. His gaze sweeps the site of the engagement, the steeple, the span, and the meadows. He declares. You reply. The term seems odd yet fitting for the moment. In any case, 3 weeks following Daniel's arrival, a message arrives for you. The postman delivers it on a Thursday in the late afternoon. You're tending the plot, yanking out intruders when the cart's rumble reaches you. Your pulse quickens. Correspondence signals updates. Updates from the ranks. Updates concerning your father, your siblings. You abandon your implements and dash to the lane. The delivery man is elderly Mr. Withers. He's covered this path for 3 decades. He knows the locals, knows their secrets as well. Quote 140 he greets, reining in his vehicle. Quote 141, quote 142. He passes it across. The wrapper is soiled, folded sharply. The inscription is faint, but you identify the penmanship. Your father's. Your fingers tremble as you accept it. Hoping it's positive tidings, Mr. Withers ventures. Me too. He doffs his cap and continues onward. You pause in the path, clutching the note as if it could detonate. Within, Daniel scrubs the plates. He glances as you step inside. What's wrong? A note from my father. You drop into a chair at the board, fixate on the wrapper. Won't you read it? Daniel prompts, his tone kind. I'm scared of its contents. He settles opposite, patient. At length, you tear it open. The contents span just 2 sheets. The script wavers, unlike your father's typical firm hand. You scan, quote 149. The lines swim. You close your eyes, then reread. Thomas is gone. Your elder sibling, 22. Robust, humorous, skilled with equines, gone. You compel yourself onward. Underscore, quote, underscore 150, underscore a piece of shrapnel struck his leg in that very clash. The doctors managed to preserve the limb, though he'll carry a permanent limp from here on out. They've transferred him to a medical facility in Washington for his recovery. I'm uncertain about his discharge date. For me, I'm physically intact, yet my soul feels drained. This conflict has dragged on far beyond reason and exacted an unbearable toll. I foresee no resolution in sight. The farm belongs to you alone now, Sarah. If I make it through and witness the close of this ordeal, I'll return. But should I fall, the property remains yours. Safeguard it. Safeguard yourself. With all my love, your father, James Brennan. You lower the letter onto the table. Thomas has perished. Michael lies injured. Your father seems utterly shattered. The room hangs in heavy silence. Nothing breaks it except the relentless ticking from the damaged clock atop the mantel, somehow persisting, as if time still holds value, even when it feels utterly meaningless. Sarah, Daniel begins, but you raise a palm to silence him. Words won't come yet. Speaking would shatter you, and shattering isn't an option. Not at this moment, not ever. You rise to your feet, cross to the window, gaze over the land. The crops your father sowed with his own hands, the barn erected by your grandfather's labor, the boundary posts your brothers repaired that final summer before marching off. Thomas won't behold it any more. Michael won't tend it as he once did. And your father, he might never return. Quote 151, Daniel murmurs softly. You incline your head. Words still evade you. Thomas is gone. The Thomas who showed you how to mount a horse, who hoisted you onto his back in your childhood, who vowed to return. He broke that vow, or the war did it for him. No difference. Quote 152, Daniel inquires. You shake your head. You can't bear to glance at the letter once more. Can't endure those phrases again. Quote 153, you reply. Your tone emerges odd, detached, as if uttered by a stranger. Quote 154. Quote 155, he says. Quote 156, you let out a chuckle. It twists out harsh and sour. Quote 157, Daniel moves across the space, rests a hand on your shoulder. You recoil briefly, then ease into it. Quote 158, he repeats. Quote 159, you pivot from the view. Face Daniel. Quote 160, he hesitates, reluctance etched on his features, yet he responds. Quote 161, he whispers. Quote 162, quote 163, he pauses in deep silence, then continues. Quote 164, quote 165, quote 166. You sink back into the chair, bury your face in your palms. Thomas is dead. The phrase reverberates in your mind, mirroring the fractured clock's rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. Dead, dead. Dead. What now? You whisper. You endure, he answers, just like before. I doubt I possess the will. You do. You're tougher than anyone I know. You lift your eyes to his. Strength? I'm gripped by fear constantly, without fail. And that's precisely strength, facing terror head on and pressing forward regardless. You yearn to trust his words, yearn to find purpose in this chaos, to think Thomas sacrificed for a cause, that the homestead will endure, that you will too. But in this instant, only hollowness fills you. Come nightfall, sleep eludes you. You recline in bed, eyes fixed on the overhead beams, observing shadows dance along the walls. Thomas is dead. Michael bears wounds. Your father battles onward, and here you remain, isolated, sheltering a runaway soldier in your home, with the fields crumbling and obligations mounting beyond your means. Footfalls echo up the steps. Daniel frames the threshold, bare-chested. The dressing on his shoulder peeks out. The injury has mended for the most part. A mere scar left behind, a token. Sleepless too, he ventures. You nod. He perches on the bed's corner, careful not to contact you, merely present. Quote 175, he shares in a low voice. Quote 176, quote 177, quote 178, quote 179, quote 180. He studies you. Quote 181, quote 182. The admission stings, unfiltered and sharp. Quote 183, quote 184, quote 185. Quiet descends. Then Daniel ventures. Quote 186. Your pulse halts. Quote 187, quote 188. A place where we could begin anew. Leaving the farm isn't an option for me. This land is draining the life out of you. It's the only thing I still hold on to. No, you've got your own spirit. That's more than sufficient. Part of you aches to challenge him, to insist he's mistaken, that this property matters deeply, that your father and brothers defended it fiercely, that your mother's grave lies right here, but exhaustion from endless battles weighs you down. You'll mull it over, you tell him. It isn't agreement, yet it isn't refusal. Daniel acknowledges with a nod, rises, and heads off to rest. The day ahead will be grueling. Everyone is. Understood. He departs. The sound of his footsteps echoes down the staircase as he returns to his improvised spot in the living room. You remain in the shadows, staring into the night. Thomas is gone. And in a distant tomorrow that's hard to picture, perhaps an existence awaits without the constant shadow of loss, dread, and fields that devour your very essence. But that time hasn't arrived, not this evening. This night holds only sorrow, the relentless click of a faulty timepiece, and the burden of a message you'll bear forever. 4 days following that letter's arrival, the Confederates return. Dawn is just breaking. You're tending to the cow in the barn, drawing milk, when the thunder of hooves reaches your ears. Numerous riders. You go still. Daniel's up in the house, fixing the shingles. He's in plain sight from the path. Curse it! You drop everything and dash toward the dwelling. Daniel, you cry, slamming through the entrance. Troops, get hidden. He lets the tools fall and hurries down the rungs. The riders draw nearer. The basement, you begin. Too late, he replies. He scans wildly for cover. The sleeping quarters, beneath the mattress. You dash up the steps together. He slides underneath your bed, tugging the coverlet to conceal his form. You straighten your skirt, force composure, steady your breaths. The animals halt right outside. Shouts ring out, drawls from the south. Your gut twists. Rebel horsemen, not scouts, looters. You make your way down the stairs deliberately. Swing the door wide right as a fist readies to pound. 6 in total, coats of gray, filthy and frayed. Expressions stern, gazes even sterner. Their commander, a captain around 30, gaunt and marked by scars. He doffs his cap in jest. Good day, ma'am. Captain John Wesley Hardin, 4th Virginia Cavalry. Ring any bells? Hardin's Raiders. For months, they've plagued the frontier regions, plundering goods, torching outbuildings, sometimes slaying those who stand against them. What's your business? You inquire, holding your tone even, merely a neighborly call. We're after provisions, rations, bullets, mounts. I've no steeds left, nor any cartridges. He grins. It fails to light his stare. We'll determine that soon enough. He signals his troop. They climb down and begin the hunt. Powerless, you observe as they tear through the stable, the hen house, the curing shed. They seize it all, your remaining cured provisions, the fresh eggs, a trio of hens. The cock meets a bullet when it lunges at one of them. A young trooper, barely past 15, nears the home. Scout the interior, Hardin commands. Ice floods your veins. Nothing's there, you blurt. Then it won't trouble you if we inspect. The youth shoves by, poking into the sitting area. You trail him, pulse thundering so fiercely you fear he'll detect it. He rummages cabinets, peers in cupboards, works steadily across the lower level, then aims for the staircase, begging you. There's naught above. Just my sleeping chamber. He pays no heed. Each riser he ascends stretches into forever. He steps into your space. Rustling follows. Wardrobe doors creak, then quiet. Captain, come take a look at this. No, 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 no. Hardin ascends. You shadow him. In your chamber, the lad gestures toward the bed. They haul Daniel forth. He offers no struggle. Futile anyway. Hardin examines him, noting the dressing, the pallor, the dread in his gaze. My, what's this? He's kin. My relative. You rush to explain. Ill. That's his reason for being here. Hardin chuckles. Kin in Yankee blue. He bends toward Daniel. A runaway soldier, right, lad? Daniel stays mute. Hardin strikes him across the face. Daniel's skull jerks aside. I posed a query. Yes, Daniel murmurs softly. A deserter, that's me. Figured as much. The Federals have shed many troops of late. Can't fault 'em for fleeing. Gettysburg hit them hard, no doubt. He faces you, aware of the punishment for sheltering a runaway. Silence from you. Execution for you two alike. Tremors rack your hands. You ball them tight to conceal it. Yet Hardin presses on. I'm no brute. Aid us and we'll spare you. How so? We require a local scout, one familiar with the terrain, the routes, the hidden paths. A strike on the warehouse in Hagerstown is our aim. Guide us there, and you both walk free. Refuse, and he draws his revolver, cocks it, jams the barrel to Daniel's temple. And I'll end him this instant, then raise your homestead to ashes. Daniel shuts his eyes. You gaze upon him, this youth who fled the conflict only to reach you, who aided the reaping, brought smiles to your days, and promised a tomorrow free of dying. Next, your gaze shifts to Hardin, then to the pistol, and finally to the impossible decision he's forcing on you. It's no decision whatsoever. Quote 189, you declare. They bind your wrists and haul you both away. Daniel atop one mount, you on a separate one, encircled by Hardin's crew. The journey to their outpost drags on for 3 hours. Nestled in a forested hollow just 5 miles from your property, the site features scattered shelters, flickering fires, and around 20 occupants altogether. These fellows vary in years and backgrounds. Seasoned troops, reluctant field hands conscripted into duty, and eager youths lured by the thrill. Exhaustion marks every face, their stares sharp and threatening. Hardin swings down from his saddle and yanks you from yours. Make yourself at home in our modest setup, he announces. You'll remain until the operation concludes. Attempt no escape. My orders to my team are to execute fugitives immediately. His eyes fix on Daniel. That goes for you too, kid. They shove you into a shelter, stationing a sentry at the entrance. You and Daniel settle onto the dirt floor, leaning against one another, fear silencing any words. From beyond the canvas, the bandits' voices drift in, chatter, chuckles, the clink of rifles being readied for battle. Quote 193, Daniel murmurs. Quote 194, quote 195, quote 196, quote 197, silence stretches. Quote 198, he inquires. Quote 199, yet doubt gnaws at your conviction now. The assault unfolds 2 evenings hence. Hardin rouses you in the pre-dawn chill. Quote 200, they lash you and Daniel to steeds once more, hands secured, raiders flanking tightly. 4 hours carry you to Hagerstown via obscure trails you recall from your youth. You might steer them astray, buying time for a breakout to alert the settlement, but the barrel pressed to Daniel's spine ensures your compliance. Their intent is clear: exploit you, then eliminate you both, unless an opportunity arises. As dawn breaks, Hagerstown emerges, a modest town of about 5,000 souls. The provisioning hub sits on its outskirts, stocked with provisions and munitions for Union forces. It's meant to be well defended, yet Hardin schemes otherwise. Quote 201 he instructs. Quote 202, quote 203, quote 204. The scheme is straightforward, ruthless, and probably effective. Should you balk, he jams the weapon to Daniel's temple once more. The familiar ultimatum. You meet Daniel's eyes. He gives a subtle shake of denial. Don't go through with it. But his life hangs in the balance. All right, I'll play along, you concede. The sentry at the barrier is a Union corporal, youthful and jittery. Suspicion clouds his features as he eyes you. Help me, please, you plead, your tone quivering, not an act, since terror grips you truly. What occurred? Bandits? Rebel horsemen? They overran my place, seized all I had, slaughtered my livestock. I just managed to flee. The corporal peers beyond you, surveying the path. Where'd they go? No idea. I bolted. Please, food, drink, a secure spot. He wavers. In the nearby thicket, Hardin and his band lurk. The corporal resolves. Enter, I'll fetch the lieutenant. He unlatches the barrier, and Hardin's forces surge forward. Shots ring out. The corporal crumples, a bullet in his torso. You cry out, dropping flat. Additional sentries emerge, returning fire, but the odds overwhelm them. The invaders pour inside, blasting, yelling, slaying. You scramble toward the woods, fleeing the slaughter. A hand seizes you, hauling you upright. Daniel, his restraint somehow severed, palms raw and unbound. Quote 214, he yells. You bolt. In your wake, flames engulf the stores. Blasts rock the air as powder ignites. Agonized cries fill the chaos. This is your doing. You guided them straight to it. The corporal's expression haunts you, youthful, frightened, lifeless on your account. You press on without pause, vanishing miles into the timberland. Breath ragged, you halt deep among the trees. Daniel, at your side. We must return, you insist. We can't. They'd gun us down. Innocents perished due to my actions. They fell to Hardin, to this conflict, not to you. I brought them right to the door. You were cornered. You collapsed to the earth, burying your face in your palms. Daniel drops to one knee nearby. Sarah, hear me out. That horror, none of it stains you. Hardin would have struck regardless. You didn't ignite this fight. You're merely clawing through it. By aiding killers. By clinging to life. Survival isn't complicity. His words stir a desire to trust, to cling to your sense of decency, to reject the monster you've dreaded becoming. Still, the corporal lingers in your thoughts. Quote, 224, you wonder aloud. Quote 225, quote 226, quote 227, you study him, this runaway youth, resilient amid ruin, steadfast by your side. Quote 228, you probe. Quote 229, he replies plainly. For the first time in weeks, hope flickers within you. Over 3 days, you trek across woodlands and meadows, tracing stream banks and animal trails, shunning highways and human contact. Daniel's wound on his shoulder tears open again during the second day of your trek. Crimson stains spread across his shirt, yet he keeps silent about the pain. You're utterly without supplies, no provisions, no clean water beyond what trickles from nearby brooks. Just the ragged outfits clinging to your skin. You scavenge whatever nature offers, handfuls of tart berries, scattered nuts. One afternoon, you stumble upon a cluster of wild onions and devour them uncooked, tears streaming from the bitter sting. As the third evening falls, you both drop exhausted into a crumbling barn somewhere across the Pennsylvania line. Part of the structure has collapsed, with the roof sagging on one end, but it provides some cover. You settle onto damp, decaying hay and gaze at the night sky peeking through the gaps. We can't continue this way, you murmur. Daniel offers no rebuttal. Exhaustion has claimed him. After a long pause, he mentions a Quaker settlement close to Gettysburg. I learned of it while our unit was stationed nearby. They aid folks in need, fugitives, runaway soldiers, anyone desperate. But why aid deserters? Their faith rejects all violence, every conflict, every death. They see it as sin, regardless of the reason. The idea lingers in your mind. How distant is it? Perhaps 20 miles. 2 days' journey if we move wisely. 20 miles feels like 100 in your state. Still, what other path exists? Fine, you agree. We'll head there. The Quakers dwell among a scattering of homesteads beyond a village named Cashtown. You reach it under a gloomy sky, storm clouds gathering. Their crops stand orderly and lush. The home appears tidy and welcoming, a stark contrast to the wilds of Pennsylvania. A woman spots your approach. She's around 50, clad in simple garb with a white bonnet. She eyes you briefly before beckoning you nearer. Thee appears famished, she observes, her speech carrying an archaic, precise lilt. We are indeed, you confess. Enter then. We'll provide sustenance. No interrogation, no doubt, just pure compassion. It nearly brings tears to your eyes. Within her home, she lays out a simple spread. Warm loaves, creamy butter, sharp cheese, crisp apples. You and Daniel devour it all with ravenous hunger, as if you were wild creatures, which, in truth, you resemble. She observes your meal with serene approval. Once your pace eases, she introduces herself. I'm Rachel Yoda. This farm belongs to my husband. He's tending the land at present. I'm Sarah, you reply. And this is Daniel. Thee flees from peril. It's evident. You incline your head in agreement. From the conflict? Aye. She serves hot tea, placing mugs before you both. Countless souls arrive here escaping the strife. We welcome all without refusal. Our conviction holds that every soul is holy, and taking life, under any pretext, is evil. Even to protect oneself? Daniel inquires. Even so, we rely on divine safeguarding. Words escape you in response. From what you've endured, heavenly aid seems fickle at best, though you hold your tongue. How much time might we remain? As long as thee requires. The barn offers space for shelter. There's labor available, should thee be fit. Labor suits you fine. Gratitude wells up as you thank her sincerely. You linger with the Quakers for a fortnight, a span of calm unbroken for the first time in ages. The tasks demand effort, but feel righteous. gathering corn, repairing barriers, caring for livestock. No prying into your history, no condemnation. Daniel's injury mends fully. Vitality returns to his features. He laughs occasionally now. You bed down in the hayloft, maintaining proper separation. Yet in the deep hours, you catch the sound of him stirring below, restless footsteps echoing his insomnia. The conflict haunts him still. It shadows you as well. Visions of the corporal in Hagerstown replay in your sleep. The instant he crumpled, crimson blooming over his jacket. You jolt awake, breath ragged, drenched in perspiration. One evening, Daniel catches your distress. He ascends to your level in the loft. Nightmares again? You affirm with a nod. He settles nearby, near enough for warmth, but respecting boundaries. Mine are of Gettysburg, he confesses. That orchard strewn with the fallen. The stench clings to me, even now. Will time dull it? I'm unsure. This refuge is the closest we've come to relief. Quiet envelops you both for a spell. Two shattered souls perched in the rafters, gripped by a strife that refuses release. Rachel speaks of pardon as the road to serenity. One day, perhaps, you muse. Dost thou trust in it? I'd like to, yet forgiving myself eludes me. For what reason? Thou didn't ignite this blaze. I aided Hardin, guided him straight to that supply post. Lives were lost because of it, but deaths mounted by the thousands daily already. Thy actions altered nothing. I amplified the horror. Daniel shifts to meet your gaze. Sarah, hear me out. This war cornered you into unthinkable decisions. It pressed a weapon to thy temple, demanding picks between evils. That's no failing of thine. It's war's cruel nature. It shatters the worthy. I feel utterly fractured, as do I. His hand extends, clasping yours, his skin toughened by fieldwork's toil. You allow the contact. We'll endure, he assures. In time, you yearn to accept his words. Oh, how you long to trust them. On the 15th morning, Union troops ride up to the property. You're out among the rows when their forms appear. Half a dozen men probing with inquiries. Dread knots in your gut. They're hunting runaways. You bolt to locate Daniel. He's in the barn, mending a cart's axle. Troops! You wheeze. Federal ones querying after deserters. Color drains from his expression. I must flee. To where? A thorough search will uncover all. I haven't a plan, but capture isn't an option. Rachel steps into view at the threshold. She's overheard the exchange. No flight will occur, she declares steadily. They remain under my roof. I'll address the visitors. They'll seize him, you protest. Maybe so, though fleeing would just complicate matters further. Daniel glances your way. The fear is plain in his gaze, mingled with a weary acceptance. He's exhausted from the constant evasion. Fine, he mutters. I'll remain. Rachel gives a slight nod. Join me, the two of you. We'll confront this as one. The patrol's commander is a sergeant, seasoned beyond the typical recruit, perhaps in his 40s. His eyes hold a gentle quality, yet compassion can't override the rules of the army. Rachel approaches him out in the yard. You and Daniel linger just behind her. Afternoon, Sergeant, she greets him. In what manner may we assist? We're hunting deserters. Rumors suggest you Quakers shelter them. We aid whoever arrives seeking refuge. That's our custom. Admirable, ma'am. Still, sheltering deserters breaks the law. Our beliefs reject your wartime statutes. We heed a greater power. The sergeant assesses the situation, eyes settling on Daniel, noting his youth, his posture, the evident anxiety. You a deserter, lad? Daniel draws himself up. Affirmative, sir. From the 5th New York Infantry. What prompted your desertion? I could no longer bear witnessing comrades perish pointlessly. The sergeant's face stays impassive, though a subtle shift crosses his features, perhaps empathy or recognition. My orders require your arrest. Understood. You realize the consequences. Court-martial, execution by firing squad. Precisely. A heavy silence stretches out. The sergeant shifts his attention to Rachel, then to you, before returning to Daniel. How much time have you spent here? 14 days, laboring on the property. Indeed, sir. I strive to contribute. Yet another quiet interval. At last, the sergeant declares, I observed no one except Quakers on this land. What about you men? His troops murmur denials. One fights back a grin. Reckon we'll search other spots. He doffs his hat toward Rachel. Ma'am, enjoy your day. They depart on horseback. You remain frozen in place, astonished. Daniel drops to his knees. He spared me. Rachel rests a palm on his back. Mercy abounds more in this world than you might imagine, even amid conflict. That evening, you and Daniel perch along the stream at the farm's rear. The flow runs shallow in the August warmth, yet serenity prevails. We ought to depart, Daniel suggests, lest another group arrives, one without such leniency. To where? Westward, as I mentioned earlier, California, Oregon, distant from this strife. What of the farm, my father, Sarah? He pivots to meet your eyes. Your father granted you the land and authorized its release. That's hardly an endorsement for abandoning it. True enough, but he desired your endurance, and isolation here won't ensure that. Not solo, with the conflict raging nearby. Deep down, you recognize his logic. The farm binds you like shackles, burdens you, becomes the tomb you're carving out alone. If I join you, you venture tentatively. Return would be impossible. Likely. I'd forfeit seeing my father or Michael ever again. War might steal that regardless. Blunt, yet accurate. I require a moment to reflect. Take as long as necessary, though the conflict pauses for no one. You gaze at the stream's steady current, unyielding and inescapable, much like time, transformation, and all that eludes your grasp. Pose the question once more at dawn, you reply. Agreed. Yet your decision feels predetermined. Dawn arrives. You rise before first light. The barn lies still, save for Daniel's soft breaths from downstairs. You don your clothes in silence. Step into the chill air. The heavens pale to slate. Birds stir with faint calls. Yet another morning unfolds. You trek to the farm's boundary ridge, the very overlook where you once brought Daniel to view the battleground. The vista stretches wide. The Quaker holdings unfold beneath, serene and bountiful, spared from violence. Farther off, haze rises, perhaps from bivouacs or blazes. The turmoil persists, ever present and patient. Your thoughts drift to your father, to Thomas slain on some Pennsylvania plain, to Michael injured and isolated in a Washington ward. You ponder the farm, your mother's resting place, your grandfather's timepiece frozen at 10:47. You recall the existence you once cherished, the dreams you held, all scorched by battle, years, and decisions thrust upon you. Then your mind turns to Daniel, to the prospects he extends. Risky and unknown, yet vibrant. An opportunity for renewal, a path beyond endless grief for what war has stripped away. Sunrise crests the skyline, rays flood the hollow. Fresh beginning, perhaps a fresh existence. Footfalls approach from behind. Daniel joins you wordlessly. I'll accompany you, you declare at length. I'll venture forth with you. He releases a breath, blending elation, apprehension, and gratitude. Certain of this? Not entirely, but I'll proceed regardless. He clasps your hand. We'll forge a path together. I vow it. You doubt his ability to uphold that vow, but faith in him becomes your choice. What alternative remains? 3 days on, you depart the Quaker farm. Rachel provides provisions, sustenance, canteens, a modest sum. This place remains open should you ever seek it again, she assures. Gratitude for all you've done. She embraces you, the initial such contact since your mother's passing. Tears escape unbidden. Daniel clasps hands with Rachel's spouse and the fellow Quakers who've aided you. Then you set off westward toward the peaks, toward the unknown ahead. You refuse to glance behind. Turning around now would make you second-guess everything, and that's a luxury you can't allow yourself. Not at this point. Heading westward stretches out over several months. You proceed at a leisurely pace, mostly walking, though you hitch occasional lifts from wagons traveling your way. Some communities you cross are bustling with life, while others seem on the brink of collapse. Military presence is constant. Union forces up north, Confederates down south. The conflict trails you relentlessly, like an inescapable shadow. Once in Ohio, you land a job on a farm bringing in the wheat harvest. The owner skips the interrogations and hands over cash payment. You linger there for 3 weeks before pressing onward. In Indiana, you take a shift in a factory, stitching uniforms for the troops. The bitter twist of fate doesn't escape you. Daniel picks up whatever gigs he can. Building sites, loading docks, anything available. Evenings find you crashing in low-rent lodgings, barns, or that one time beneath a bridge. The days are grueling, draining, downright scary. Yet you're in it side by side. And, bit by bit, so gradually it's almost imperceptible, the bad dreams start to recede. They're still there, always will be, but they whisper instead of scream. When you hit Illinois and pause in Springfield, it's turned November with a biting chill in the air. The trees stand bare. You're hunkered down in a tavern, spooning through a bowl of stew, when talk turns to the president. Lincoln's set to deliver an address in Gettysburg next week, consecrating a burial ground for the fallen soldiers. A sharp pang hits your chest. Gettysburg, the site of Thomas's death, Daniel's flight, the moment it all shattered. Quote, 233, Daniel murmurs softly. Quote, 234, quote, 235, returning feels unbearable, revisiting that nightmare spot. Still, his words ring true. Closure is overdue. You pull into Gettysburg on November 18th, 1863. The place teems with crowds, thousands strong, from troops to ordinary folk to officials. The graveyard sits atop the ridge of the bloodiest clashes, where Thomas met his end. It's been tidied now, graves aligned neatly, each marked by plain markers. Endless lines of pale stones stretch out. You wander through, eyes scanning for your brother's inscription. No luck, naturally. He's likely in some communal pit, nameless amid the masses, lost to history like so many. Daniel spots you perched on a low wall, tears streaming, and settles next to you without a word. The dedication kicks off. Lincoln steps up, leaner and wearier than you'd pictured, his frame towering. His talk lasts just a couple of minutes, delivered in a crisp, reedy tone. The phrasing straightforward. Quote 236. Much of it slips past you, drowned in your sorrow, but the close cuts through. Quote 237. Applause ripples through the assembly. You remain frozen, hollow inside. Thomas is gone. 50,000 more with him. And here, Lincoln claims their sacrifice had purpose. Part of you yearns to trust that, to see meaning in the agony. But deep down, you ache only for your siblings' return. Let's move, Daniel urges with care. You rise, casting a final glance over the burial site, the markers, the plots, the stark proof of a conflict that devours endlessly without return. Farewell, Thomas, you breathe, then turn and leave. By March 1864, you've crossed into California after half a year navigating vast prairies, rugged peaks, and arid wastes. Death nearly claims you on two occasions. First, a raging fever, then outlaws who strip you bare but spare your lives. Somehow, you endure. San Francisco assaults the senses, remnants of the gold frenzy, vessels crowding the bay, construction booming on every corner. It's raucous, grimy, worlds away from Maryland's quiet, and utterly ideal. You secure a position in a wash house. Daniel labors at the wharves. Together, you claim a cramped upstairs space over a Chinese eatery where aromas of stir-fries waft nonstop. It's modest, sure, but it belongs to you. As darkness falls, you recline and absorb the urban symphony beyond the walls, so alien to the homestead, to Sharpsburg, to your old world. Do you ever long for it? Daniel wonders one evening. For what? Home. You mull it over, truly pondering. I miss how things used to be, you admit at last. The time before the fighting, before it all crumbled. Same here, but not the mess it turned into. Absolutely not. He shifts, peering at you through the faint glow from the lamps below. Any regrets about joining me? Check back in a decade. A grin crosses his face. Reasonable. Sleep overtakes you amid the creak of rigging, the calls of deckhands, the ceaseless pulse of a metropolis in perpetual flux. A far cry from rural stillness, yet an improvement. Out here, reinvention is possible. A fresh identity, unburdened by history, or at least shouldering its load with less strain. Come April, you pen a letter to your father at last. It demands 3 attempts to nail the tone. Dear Father, I trust this reaches you in good health, and that the conflict hasn't worn you down too severely. There's something I must confess, and I pray you'll find it in your heart to pardon me. I've departed the farm. California is my home now. I realize this defies your wishes, that you counted on me to tend the property until your return. But staying was impossible. The war encroached too fiercely. The land withered, and piece by piece, so did I. I departed alongside a companion, a person who supported me during my darkest moments. Thoughts of you and Michael fill my mind each day. I send prayers that you're both surviving and will witness the close of this conflict. Yet returning isn't possible for me. I can no longer be the young woman who lingered in anticipation, fading away bit by bit. Here, I'm forging a fresh existence. It's challenging and unpredictable, yet it belongs to me. Perhaps one day you'll grasp this. Your devoted daughter, Sarah. You dispatch the missive, aware that a reply may never arrive. Your father could be deceased, or perhaps too furious to respond, or even sympathetic. Who can say what outcome you desire most? The conflict concludes in April 1865. Details reach you via the San Francisco papers. Lee's capitulation at Appomattox, the murder of Lincoln, the Union's endurance intact. 600,000 perished. 600,000. The newsprint rests in your lap as you stare, struggling to comprehend the toll. Thomas counted among those 600,000, alongside innumerable strangers. So much existence lost, so much agony endured. To what end? The reports proclaim the Union rescued, bondage abolished, noble causes perhaps justifying the battle, but at the price of 600,000 souls. The answer eludes you. It always will. Daniel discovers you in that spot. He glances at the article beside you. Quote 251, he murmurs softly. Quote 252, the battles have ceased. Everything else. He gives a slow shake of his head. Everything else lingers on. His words ring true. Though the war has ended, the wounds persist. They forever will. 3 months pass before a letter from your father arrives. Your fingers tremble as you break the seal. Quote, 253. You pore over the pages thrice, then you tuck it away neatly into a container holding your treasured keepsakes. Your mother's pendant, Thomas's final note, a picture, the homestead from the war's prelude, fragments of an existence that's vanished, yet etched indelibly, unerasable. Come June, Daniel proposes marriage. You're perched on the pier, observing vessels glide into harbor. The sunset paints the scene. The sea gleams golden. Sarah Brennan, he begins. Will you wed me? Your gaze meets his. This young man who fled duty, whom you rescued, who in turn rescued you, who's woven a future with you in a place 3,000 miles distant from your origins. Quote, 256 you reply. His face lights up. He pulls you close for a kiss amid the pier, with seamen catcalling and the fading light igniting the world in flames. It diverges from your envisioned path, but it's fulfilling, and that suffices. Time marches forward. The war fades into the annals of history, a topic for textbooks. You and Daniel construct a shared world in San Francisco. Children come, 2 girls, a boy. Maryland stays behind forever. Your father passes in 1873, Michael in 1891. Grief visits from afar. California claims you fully now. In quiet nighttime hours, memories of the farm surface, the vast fields, the sturdy barn, your mother's resting place. You ponder its current stewards, whether they sense the echoes of the past, the lingering spirits. Thomas crosses your thoughts. The corporal from Hagerstown, the fallen multitude. Have they found peace, or do they roam, seeking unclaimed destinies? Mysteries unsolved. Still you share tales with your offspring of their grandfather's Union stand, their uncle's sacrifice at Gettysburg. You recount the war's price, the toll exacted, ensuring the memory endures, the departed honored. On a balmy June night in 1898, you settle on the veranda, eyes on the sun dipping below San Francisco Bay. At 73, that's your age. Daniel, 74, lounges within, scanning the paper and grumbling over his aches. Your kids have matured, grandkids tumble about, vibrant and untamed. The era has transformed, iron rails span the land, electric glows brighten urban nights. The war feels like distant lore, but you hold it close. Memory clings eternally. The metallic tang of blood in the root cellar, the heft of that bullet clutched tight. Gunshots echoing from Hagerstown. Daniel's expression as the sergeant released him. Your father's words of pride in his letter, the instant you resolve to depart and shape anew. Every fragment, the injuries, the decisions, the existence risen from ruins. The sun meets the edge of the earth. The heavens shift to shades of red and amber. Daniel steps outside, settles next to you, and grasps your hand gently. Quote, 257, he murmurs. Quote, 258, you respond. And so you remain side by side, 2 people who've endured, observing the sun's descent. Thankful for reaching this point. Thankful simply to draw breath. Yet that's a vision yet to unfold. For now, the year remains 1863. You're just 18, tending a Maryland farm near Sharpsburg, hiding a runaway soldier in your basement while conflict engulfs the land. Fear grips you still, but so does the will to persist. Day by day, decision by decision, the twilight falls still. The day's labor is finished. Livestock have been tended. You perch on the front steps, gazing as shadows lengthen. Daniel reads indoors by the flicker of a candle. His strength returns bit by bit. Before long, he'll need to depart. Before long, your path will demand clarity. Remain or venture forth. Security or peril. The familiar against the uncharted. But those burdens await the dawn. This evening holds only the present, the breeze carrying chill, the chorus of insects, the initial twinkles piercing the deepening violet above. Exhaustion weighs on your frame, deep into the bones, the sort born from labor that began at first light, from bearing loads no one your age should shoulder, yet you have, and you continue to. Come morning, you'll rise and shoulder them anew, because that's your way, the way of all who endure. You press on, even when endurance seems beyond reach. Even as chaos unravels the world, you carve out a path from within. Daniel extinguishes the flame. You catch the sounds of his preparations for rest. In moments, you'll follow suit, ascend to your chamber, stretch out on the mattress that once cradled your mother. Shut your eyes, praying the visions stay at bay. The ones featuring Thomas, the corporal, the countless lost souls. They intrude regardless at times, but others pass undisturbed. And those serene evenings become treasures, things to cherish, reasons to persist. Night thickens, constellations sharpen. Off in Virginia, your father slumbers in a canvas shelter, thoughts turning homeward. In Washington, Michael recuperates in a ward, mending gradually. In Pennsylvania, Thomas lies forgotten beneath sod, while you persist here, breathing, resisting, aspiring. It suffices. It must. You rise with care. Limbs ache in protest. Pain shadows every motion lately. Though youth favors you, recovery will follow, endurance will prevail. As always, the home stands silent and shadowed. Daniel has dozed off on the parlor rug. His breaths come even and deep. You mount the staircase. Each riser groans in recognition. Your space greets you, modest, unadorned, your own. In the gloom, you shed your clothes, slip beneath the worn cover. The cushion yields softly. The bedding feels known. This shelter endures for the time being, for whatever span fate allows. Eyes seal shut, the hours dissolve, tasks conclude, tension eases from sinews, breath evens out. You've merited this reprieve. You've outlasted yet another stretch in a realm bent on your ruin. That holds value, immense value. The next day looms inevitable. Duties, dilemmas, dread. But not yet. Here and now, only shadow. Hush. The gentle slide toward slumber. Embrace it. Release the frets. Release the terrors. Release all but the instant. This inhale. This pulse. This tranquil interlude bridging alertness and reverie. Security envelops you. For the present, for this eve, it's the utmost any soul might seek. Conflict rages onward, as it invariably does. Elsewhere, lives flicker out, families fracture, worlds crumble, but not in this haven, not within these walls, not amid this hush. Just a young woman of 18, weary to the core, vital, easing toward rest, toward visions that may soothe or unsettle. Regardless, she'll confront them because that's her essence, your essence. You persist, you weather, you greet each sunrise and tackle what arises. No matter the strain, no matter the odds, you adapt. Ease your mind. Dim the recollections, the fields, the battles, the crossroads, the departed, all dissolving like mist, distilling to this alone. The bed's gentle embrace, the cover's reassuring press, the steady cadence of your lungs. Draw in, release, draw in, release, unwavering, perpetual. Vibrant, you've weathered fiercer storms. You've withstood blows that would shatter others. Yet here you remain, inhaling, envisioning, yearning. That's no small feat. That's the core of it. The dwelling sighs into stillness. Timbers murmur in the night. Below, Daniel stirs faintly, whispers indistinctly. He dreams as well, perhaps of New York, of kin, mother, siblings, or the clash at Gettysburg, the indelible marks of strife. Ghosts trail us all. Wounds linger for everyone. Still, we advance. We respire. We cling to the chance that the morrow improves, that conflict ceases one day, that hauntings relent, that tranquility arrives at last. Your breaths grow profound. The line between awareness and repose softens. Ideas splinter, disperse, weave into slumber. You wander amid the maze. It rises high, verdant, pulsing with life. Thomas stands before you, beaming with completeness. Quote 259, he tells you. Quote 260, he dissolves amid the cornstalks, merging with the sunlight, leaving you solitary yet unburdened by isolation. For deep down you understand, you truly know, that things will turn out fine. In time, one day, ages will slip away. The farm will vanish. The house will decay. The conflict will fade into the annals of history. Your identity will slip from memory. Your tale will dissolve. Yet the earth endures. The meadows, the stream, the hill gazing toward the battleground. Folks will continue to wander those paths, labor on that soil, envision futures there, battle on against a relentlessly shifting existence. Certain truths persist unchanging. The drive to persevere, to hold on to optimism, to forge anew from the ruins. It's timeless. It's innate to humanity. It's the essence of who you are. So welcome it. Allow slumber to claim you, just as it enveloped Sarah Brennan in her modest chamber on a Maryland homestead in 1863. Permit the strife to recede into the horizon. Let the dread subside. Give your form repose, your thoughts permission to wander, your pulse a chance to ease. This reprieve is yours by right. You've made it through until now. And come morning, should fortune smile, you'll press on a bit longer, though that's for later. For this evening, all there is respite, tranquility, the gentle, unhurried descent toward oblivion, toward visions, toward slumber.